Hey everyone, welcome back to Take Flight Garage, and I have great news. It's finally time to try to get this MAF kit going. So the original error that I made, as you can see, one of those pins is missing, and that's not very good. So the issue was, when I installed this on the DME, they installed differently on the Focus DME and the factory DME. I hadn't seen anyone install it on a Focus DME, so I just thought that it plugged in normally and all would be well. Turns out that's not the case. When you're plugging it into a factory DME, it goes like this with the writing facing down. On the Focus DME, it should go like this with the writing facing away. So I'm gonna take 1,000 pictures of this right now when I do it, and actually before I rip the DME out and try to install it, I'm gonna look it up again just to make sure that I'm doing it right. But anyways, yeah, so I tried cranking the car over and no dice, and upon trying to pull the chip out so I could reset it, I broke a pin off. Now, that's not to say that even if it was intact, it still would have worked, because when you install it incorrectly, you're essentially flipping grounds and power inputs, and so that's a great way to fry the EEPROM. So after several weeks and Dave's help, we finally got a replacement board. So this is a fresh tune, and it's ready to go. And now it's time to give this a shot one more time. So I'm going to get going, and hopefully I'll come back to you guys with a running car. Okay, we've got everything removed. We've successfully removed the Focus 9 chip, so that's safe in case I screw this up again. And this is what I was talking about. So in relation to the connector, on the Focus 9 DME, the Lindsey Racing lettering should be pointing down away from it. On the factory DME, again, double check other people's installs. This is 180 degrees the other way. And actually, since I have two of these, I can use my extra $200 investment now to show you that this is how I originally installed it, and that was incorrect. So I'm nervous, but you can see I have everything is lined up properly, if it'll focus. So you want to go through and just make sure that all of those little legs are lined up in their holes properly. And then I'm going to use two hands to do this, and then just socket the chip carefully. Okay, so very carefully I've inserted the Lindsey chip, and this is done now. So the cover can go back on this, and then this can get reinstalled in the car. Okay, that's it. The MAF installation is complete. Can you tell where I ran the wire? I hope not, because that's the whole point. So before I walk you through some of the materials I used, let's talk about the cable routing. So the MAF is here, the split off wire is there. You can see I used some of that flex tube, that plastic heat flex tube that's meant for cable management stuff. It should be high heat resistant, and it should be over a not super, it should be on the cooler side of the engine, if that makes sense. The engine may get hot, but this isn't near the headers or near the head or anything like that. It remains intake side, comes down. I opted not to zip tie to the mount there for the airbox, because I realized that every single time if I needed to remove the airbox for maintenance or anything like that, I'd have to cut and retie that. So it crosses over the motor mount underneath the engine bay, pretty tucked away. Follows the cable routing up here, that's actually for the accessory harness, is tucked up underneath there. And wouldn't you know it, the hole for whatever this is for is the exact perfect size for this tubing to sit in there and rest neatly. This is just a extension that I needed to make. So this obviously is not permanent, but we'll get some good weatherproofing on that, and that should be just fine. For the time being, I used a butt connector like that just so that if I needed to unplug anything or test anything, I had easy access right there. It comes into the fuse box. I'll pop this open. There's a couple spots where I was a little bit worried about wires getting pinched, but in those areas, we'll go through and drill some small holes. The fuse that I ended up utilizing, so first off, those unused fuses, I thought I'd be able to get away with using them because I saw contacts in there, but there's no wiring plugged in them. So kind of a bust there. You can't use any of those unless you pull this whole panel up and run wiring from the battery to it. So what I opted to do instead was check out what all of the fuses do and find something that was potentially switched 12-volt power. And what I ended up using was fuse 25, I believe, which is the seat heating fuse. My car doesn't have heated seats. So you want to be a little bit logical and just sort of take your time and think about what you're going to use. I wouldn't tie it to something like a bulb or a radio fuse or something like that. Something, or even the sunroof like circuit, because you don't want something to where if a bulb shorts out or if water gets in somewhere and it shorts it, you know, all of a sudden you're chasing down, okay, well, my car's not starting. So, and you also don't want to tie it to a circuit that's going to get really hot. So for example, that's why I didn't tie it into the air conditioning circuit or anything like that. I didn't want it connected to the AC relays, or the blower motor is a great way to test it if it's running, but you don't really want it tied to that either, because again, if your AC compressor starts shorting out and that shorts out your your HVAC control panel up there, that also shorts the blower motor. You get nothing. The car totally dies as far as the AC goes. And so if you have something like the MAF connected to that circuit, if you one day go to turn your AC on and your compressor blows that fuse, you're going to kill your car while you're in the middle of driving. So I opted to find something that either was an option that I didn't have or was something that I never used. And luckily the heated seats was my route. So just be cognizant of what you're choosing when you tie that in, when you're tying into that circuit, because again, you don't want to set yourself up for, if something remedial shorts out or loses power for any reason, it's going to like shut the car off. Okay, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. That was the MAF install, and that was the last big engine modification that I wanted to do for a while. We have some maintenance coming up. Timing belts, etc. is due in June. It'll be 3 years since I purchased the car and replaced them when I first bought it. So that's going to be on the docket, but that won't be for a little while. I've developed an oil leak at both balance shaft housings, so I'm going to have to figure out a good way to solve that issue. And I need to make some decisions as if that's going to be the time that I decide to pull the cam tower, and maybe we'll do a cam while the belts and all that stuff is off anyways. I don't need to worry about the cooling system being drained. The water pump was already replaced. So I guess what I'm saying is that's going to do it for engine modifications and performance modifications for now. The big thing was boosting reliability, and I feel a lot more comfortable with how the car is set up, especially now that I can just plug in and see what the car is doing via the OBD. The next small project is going to be running a USB pass-through from the DME itself up to the center console, or potentially the glove box. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it yet. That way, rather than having to pull all that stuff out from underneath the passenger side wheel well, all I have to do is just plug in a USB cable into a computer or a tablet right there, and I don't have to worry about fiddling with all that stuff, and that will save some time. Potentially, I might even be able to, say, get a small screen or maybe a Raspberry Pi device or something, an SoC that's powerful enough to run the Focus OBD software, so that I can have a control panel, if you will, somewhere in the car. Now, whether or not that'll be hidden or whether or not we maybe do a head unit install, I have no idea. I've still got to sort all that out. I also don't really, I've kind of hit the max on what I wanted to spend on the car. And I'll do a price breakdown of everything in a future video. But that's one last project that we'll do. So for now, we'll go ahead and close this. I've already started the car and made sure that it starts and runs, and it does. So before I end this video, I have one last surprise modification that's going to be made, and it's something I've been waiting 8 years to do. I never got the chance to attain one for my first car, and it's going to be a big centerpiece of this whole thing. So I can't wait for you guys to see that. So stay tuned. I think you're all really going to enjoy it. And if you enjoy the video series on some of the modifications that we've done, that's awesome. I hope you found it informative. And if you have any questions, or if I didn't cover anything thoroughly enough, please let me know, so that way I can, address some of that stuff either in a future video or in the comments. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.